Look, we worked on a couple of things. Brad came in and we did a few striking things, changed things around a little bit.
Hmm.
I don't want to say too much, but yeah, you'll see on Saturday night.
Alexander Volkanovski's coach, Joe Lopes, has unveiled a new plan to counter Diego Lopes's anticipated aggressive approach. The coach emphasized a warning that Volkanovski is expected to be relentless. Meanwhile, outside Volkanovski's camp, Henry Cejudo admitted he's been left somewhat speechless by the current state of the UFC featherweight division, with Ilia Topuria now holding the belt and Alexander Volkanovski racking up 3 losses. Cejudo pointed out that the landscape has shifted dramatically and not necessarily in a way that makes sense. He noted how Diego Lopes appears to be sliding into title contention without having gone through the usual gauntlet of top-ranked contenders. Still, despite the questionable matchmaking, Cejudo shrugged it off, acknowledging that the UFC is simply doing what it has to do to keep the division moving.
I'm like in loss of words, dude. But I feel like at 145 pounds since Ilya has left, it's kind of like Volkanovski has gone he's lost his last 3 fights, and then Diego Lopes is kind of sliding in without. Yeah, he did beat Brian Ortega, but he never really went through the number 1 contenders. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not mad at it. I mean, it is what it is. The UFC had to do what they had to do, but I can see Diego's Lopes.
That said, despite his reservations about the path Diego Lopes has taken to title contention, Henry sees real danger for Volkanovski in their now official matchup. Cejudo believes that Diego has the tools to either knock Volkanovski out or submit him, citing a stylistic threat that shouldn't be overlooked. Breaking down Diego's journey, Cejudo pointed to a rapid ascent, wins over Gavin Tucker, Pat Sabatini, Sodiq Yusuff, Dan Ige, and most recently, a victory over Brian Ortega that earned him the title shot. While the climb may have lacked the traditional number 1 contender route, Cejudo sees Lopes as a legitimate threat in the division.
I can see Diego Lopes either knocking Volkanovski out or potentially putting him in a submission, bro. Like I really do. I think stylistically, man. Look, but then again, man, look at Diego Lopes, bro. Like for him to get to a title, let's go over it real quick. Gavin Tucker, Pat Sabatini, Sadiq, Dan Ige, and then boom, he beat Brian Ortega to get to the title.
Building on the discussion, Kamaru Usman took a pragmatic approach to the situation. He made it clear that he's not here to police fairness when it comes to who gets title shots. Instead, Usman pointed to the reality of the division. That is, the title is now essentially vacant. According to him, the featherweight landscape has shifted because the man who once planted his flag and ruled the division, Ilia Topuria, has stepped away from the throne. With that dominance no longer intact, Usman emphasized that the division is now wide open and the opportunity is there for someone new to seize control.
I'm not the police on fairness, getting to the title or not. All I know is, hey, we have a vacant, because we have a staple, we have a champion in this featherweight division that is the champion, that is stopping dudes, that has put his flag down. I run this weight class, but he has vacated that, and so now.
In addition, Kamaru addressed the UFC's decision-making following Topuria's exit from the featherweight throne. With the title now vacated, Usman stated that the logical move is to go with the top 2 names in the division. In his view, Diego Lopes is the hottest fighter in the weight class right now, a surging contender riding a wave of momentum. As a result, the UFC slotted him into a title fight against former pound-for-pound king Alexander Volkanovski. While there had been talks of a potential rematch for Volkanovski, the promotion ultimately pivoted toward a fresh matchup that aligns with the current momentum of the division.
With the vacated title, you know, it's not, you got to go to the top 2 guys at the division. The hottest guy, arguably right now in that division, is Diego Lopes. So we put him in for the title shot against the former pound for pound Alexander Volkanovski, because there was talks of that rematch.
So what do you think? Do you smell what I'm smelling?
I don't know.
In line with his analysis of the division's shifting dynamics, Usman also shared his thoughts on the matchup itself, breaking down the contrast in styles between Diego Lopes and Alexander Volkanovski. Usman admitted he's a fan of Lopes's ultra-aggressive approach, praising the Brazilian's relentless pursuit of what he wants inside a cage. But it's not just chaos. Usman pointed out that there's a method behind the madness. He highlighted Lopes's performance against Brian Ortega, noting how the precision and power in his combinations, particularly the ones that dropped Ortega, were evidence of a well-drilled game plan.
Listen, Henry, let me, to be honest, when I really take a look at this fight, Diego Lopes, I like he's ultra aggressive, and he's ultra aggressive in looking for what he wants and finding the shot. And there's a method to it as well because of the way that he put it on Brian Ortega. I mean, just the combination that he was landing and dropping Ortega was just beautiful. And you could tell that's something that he's drilled for.
However, while praising Lopes' aggression, Usman also acknowledged that Lopes' aggression comes at a price. In pushing forward so relentlessly, he leaves openings and makes mistakes. That's where Volkanovski becomes especially dangerous. Usman emphasized that Volkanovski, as seen in his trilogy with Max Holloway, is a high-level technician. The former champion's ability to break down elite opponents with surgical precision is what makes him such a formidable force, even after recent setbacks.
For a long time, but in him being ultra aggressive, I do think that Diego Lopes does make some mistakes. And Alexander Volkanovski, I mean, you look at those trilogy fights that he had with Max Holloway. Alexander Volkanovski is a technician. Like, I'm like, why is he so good? When I see him, and I'm like, he's great, he's good, but why is he that great? But then you really watch him and you break him down. He's a technician with the way that he's able to kind of break a guy down, find the angle.
Building on his previous analysis, Kamaru expressed confidence in Alexander Volkanovski's chances, provided the version that shows up is the elite technician the MMA world has come to know. While acknowledging Volkanovski's recent skid, losing 3 of his last 4, Usman believes that if the focused, high IQ Volkanovski returns, the outcome against Diego Lopes could be decisive. Despite Lopes' youth and aggressive style, Usman doesn't see how the former featherweight king doesn't get it done. In his eyes, a motivated Volkanovski, dialed in and executing with the precision he's known for, still has the tools to neutralize rising threats like Lopes.
If that same Alexander Volkanovski steps in here, I mean, like you did mention, he is 3 for 4. He's had lost 3 of his last 4. But if that Alexander shows up and he's still motivated, I don't see how he doesn't get it done over a young, aggressive guy like Diego Lopes. I don't see how he doesn't get it done. So I'm going to go with Alexander Volkanovski.
On the other hand, Coach Joe Lopes shared that Alexander Volkanovski is eager to step back into the octagon and is looking forward to the challenge ahead. Having started his preparation early and maintained a strict diet for an extended period, Volkanovski is primed for the fight. According to Lopes, the former champion is excited for Saturday night, ready to jump in, showcase his skills, and most importantly, bring the belt back to his possession.
Well, it was a long camp. I think Alex is just looking forward now to fighting, because we started so early and he's been dieting for such a long time. But yeah, he's just looking forward to Saturday night jumping in there and doing his thing and bringing the belt back.
In preparation for this crucial battle, Joe revealed that the team has made some strategic adjustments in preparation for the fight. He mentioned that Brad Riddell came in to assist with striking, and together they implemented a few tweaks to Volkanovski's approach. While Lopes remained tight-lipped on the specifics, he hinted that fans can expect to see some noticeable changes come Saturday night. Subtle yet significant adjustments aimed at giving Volkanovski the edge in this high-stakes showdown.
Look, we worked on a couple of things. Brad came in and we did a few striking things, changed things around a little bit. I don't want to say too much, but yeah, you'll see on Saturday night,
Building on the collaborative effort, Joe acknowledged the valuable input of Craig Jones and Alexander Volkanovski's training camp, praising the renowned jiu-jitsu specialist as one of the best in the world, not just in terms of skill, but also in coaching and analytical insight. Lopes highlighted Craig's ability to break techniques down to the finest detail, emphasizing how their in-depth discussions are all centered around ensuring that Volkanovski enters the octagon fully prepared. From positional awareness to submission defense, Lopes made it clear that nothing is being left to chance as they fine-tune every aspect of Volkanovski's game ahead of fight night.
Yeah, it's always good to have Craig's input. He is a jiu-jitsu specialist, probably one of the best in the world. And not only in his skill-wise, but in his coaching and his breakdown. He really breaks everything right down, and we can communicate, discuss things, and make sure that when Volk gets in there that we haven't left any stone unturned.
Adding to their strategic focus, Coach Joe highlighted one of Volkanovski's key strengths heading into the fight, his ability to play the long game, particularly as a shorter fighter in most of his matchups. Lopes praised Volkanovski's exceptional understanding of distance, calling it one of the first attributes he noticed when they began working together. According to Lopes, Volkanovski has always had a sharp eye for managing range, using it effectively to control the pace and positioning of a fight. As the bout approaches, Lopes expects Volkanovski to stay composed, operate from the outside, and implement his signature style with calculated precision.
You know, Alex really plays the long game really well, especially for the shorter fighter that he normally is. He's really got a good understanding and a good eye for distance. He's always had it. It was probably one of the first things that I said to him. You know, he really understood distance, and Alex playing his game and showing his looks and feints and everything else on that outside, and Diego being very reactive. It could be a hard night in the office for him if he overreacts to Alex's movements, which we're counting on.
Despite the focus on his previous plans, Alexander Volkanovski acknowledged the excitement surrounding his upcoming clash with Diego Lopes, calling it a fun and intriguing matchup. While he admitted that his primary focus had been on securing a rematch with Ilia Topuria, Volkanovski recognized that facing Lopes brings its appeal. He noted that despite not being the fight he originally wanted, Lopes is a dangerous and entertaining opponent. With the hype building around the bout, Volkanovski believes this matchup will capture fans' attention and deliver the kind of action that keeps people tuning in.
Well, I think, yeah, definitely a great matchup. Fun matchup as well. So it's a fight where, even though it's not Ilia, a rematch with Ilia would have been, that's what I wanted mostly, right? I wanted to fight Ilia for the belt, get the rematch. Next best thing is for the vacant belt against Diego. At least he's a dangerous fighter, exciting fighter. People are going to want to tune in because, there's a bit of hype around him.
With the fight gaining widespread attention, Chael Sonnen has made his prediction for the title clash, siding with a rising force in the division. The former UFC contender is picking Diego Lopes to emerge victorious over Volkanovski. Despite Alexander's pedigree and years of dominance, Sonnen appears to be leaning toward the momentum, youth, and finishing ability of Lopes as the deciding factors in what's shaping up to be a pivotal matchup in the 145-pound landscape.
Question. Criteria right now is simply who's going to win? Lopes versus Volkanovski. And the answer is Lopes.
Adding to the growing wave of support for Lopes, MMA Guru threw his support behind Diego Lopes in the upcoming matchup, predicting that Lopes will secure a victory by TKO. The analyst expressed strong confidence in Lopes' abilities, firmly believing that the rising contender is truly a force to be reckoned with. While others may be cautious about Lopes' aggressive style, MMA Guru is convinced that Lopes has what it takes to overcome Volkanovski, but also emphasizes that if the bout goes to the championship rounds, Volkanovski has the advantage.
Oh, I feel like I'm upsetting so many with my picks. I'm going Diego Lopes by TKO. I think he's really, really good. And there were moments in the Brian Ortega fight where I was worried, but can I say the same against Volk? There were also moments where I was worried there. And Lopes did have that iffy one against Ige where the third round came around and it was like, ugh. That doesn't look good. And I think if we do get to championship rounds, Volkanovski's got an advantage.
While many are backing Lopes, Jamahal Hill weighed in on the fight, offering praise for Diego's dynamic skill set. Hill acknowledged Lopes' versatility, noting that his ability to compete with anyone in the division makes him a formidable opponent. However, despite recognizing Lopes' strengths, Hill leaned slightly toward Alexander Volkanovski, citing the proven abilities of the former champion. Hill pointed out that Volkanovski's track record and consistent performances at the highest level give him the edge in this matchup, even though Lopes' potential makes the fight an intriguing one.
Lopes is dynamic. He's super, super dynamic. He has the ability to go out and get a win over just about anybody. So it's hard to count against that. But Volk, I probably lean a little bit closer, more towards Volk just because we've seen the ability. It's just the ability. Certain things that I've seen will be a problem for anybody. And if you haven't really been on point
In a similar vein, James Lynch offered his analysis of the matchup, emphasizing that while Diego Lopes possesses the finishing ability to secure a victory, the overall resume still seems to favor Alexander. Lynch pointed out that Volkanovski's technical achievements and previous performances lend him an edge, even though his recent losses came against two of the UFC's elite fighters. In Lynch's view, if it comes down to the complete body of work, Volkanovski still has something left in the tank, making him a formidable opponent despite Lopez's explosive potential.
We've seen this before. We saw his teammate Israel Adesanya get knocked out. I mean, it could happen again, right? Lopez has the ability to finish fights. So, you know, certainly wouldn't be surprised if Diego Lopes gets this done. However, if we're going on the overall body of work, I got to take Volkanovski here. I think he's got a bit left. I think Volkanovski lost to two of the best fighters in the UFC right now, and I think Diego Lopes could be that fighter, but I don't think he is right now.
Furthermore, James emphasizes another critical factor for him, the inability of Diego to finish Ortega. According to Lynch, if a fighter possesses that extra finishing talent, closing out a bout is more attainable. In his view, Lopez's struggle to dispatch Ortega casts doubt on his ability to end the fight early against Volkanovski. Lynch believes that unless Volkanovski loses his durability entirely, Lopes is unlikely to secure a swift finish. James points out that Alexander, who has taken ample time off to recharge, is renowned as one of the smartest fighters in the division. His tactical acumen allows him to avoid premature exchanges and unfavorable openings early in the bout. As the contest progresses, Volkanovski's superior fiber and extensive experience begin to tip the scales in his favor, making it a tall order for the younger, aggressive Lopes to catch him off guard.
Now, one of the things that I look at, and I brought this up in the early look, he wasn't able to finish Brian Ortega. To me, if you have this like special extra talent like a Topuria does, you finish a Brian Ortega. You couldn't do that. So I don't see him finishing Volk early unless Volk's really fallen off a cliff and his durability's out the window. But I think he's taken more than enough time off. He's one of the smartest fighters out there. I think he finds a way to avoid any sort of early onslaught. And as the fight goes, I think this is where it favors Volk. He's got the 5-round experience. We've seen Diego Lopes slow down.
Building on his earlier points, Lynch continued his analysis by highlighting a noticeable trend in Diego Lopes' recent performances. He pointed out that Lopes has shown a marked slowdown over the past 2 to 3 consecutive fights, a trend that, in his view, can't be sustained against an opponent of Alexander Volkanovski's caliber. Lynch believes that Volkanovski's ability to elevate his performance as the bout progresses will eventually dominate the pace, leaving the younger fighter struggling to keep up.
And back-to-back fights now, the Ige fight and the Brian Ortega fight, he slowed down in that one. He can't do that against Alex Volkanovski, who I think will take over later in the fight. Alexander Volkanovski decision is going to be my pick.
Ultimately, Lynch picks Volkanovski to secure the victory, suggesting that if one were to hedge their bets, they could lean toward a knockout win for Lopes or a decision win for Volkanovski, reflecting the nuanced risk in this high-stakes matchup.
Again, another fight where if you wanted to play it safe here, Lopes by knockout, Volkanovski by decision. It's possible Volk could finish this late in the fight too, but I'm leaning more towards decision. If you look at most of his wins, Volkanovski's wins, they do come by decision, only next to knockout, and I don't think he knocks out Diego Lopes. So Alex Volkanovski, decision in the main event to get it done and claim back his vacant.
In addition to Lynch's perspective, Corey Sandhagen weighed in on the matchup, ultimately siding with Alexander Volkanovski, but he acknowledged that Diego Lopes certainly has a legitimate chance. Sandhagen pointed out that while Volkanovski is an exceptional striker, he believes the key to victory for the former champion would be to incorporate wrestling into his game plan. While Volkanovski's striking skills are top-notch, Sandhagen emphasized that Lopes is a dangerous and highly skilled striker in his own right. To neutralize Lopes's striking threat, Sandhagen believes Volkanovski will need to mix in some grappling and control the fight on the ground, where he has an edge.
Probably Volk will win that one, but I definitely think Lopes has a really good chance. I think Volk needs to wrestle Lopes if he wants to win because, not that Volk's a bad striker or anything, but I think that Lopes is a very good, dangerous striker.
As the featherweight division braces for a seismic clash, all eyes are on whether experience or momentum will prevail. With strategic upgrades in Volkanovski's camp and Lopes's meteoric rise, the stakes couldn't be higher. Come Saturday night, the 145-pound throne may find a new ruler or witness a king reclaim his crown. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Who do you think takes the win in this high-stakes featherweight showdown? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a beat.